Welcome to Ayurveda and Spirituality with your host, Alakananda Ma, a renowned Ayurvedic expert and a graduate of a top London medical school. She is the principal of Alundi Ayurveda Gurukula, a unique apprenticeship-style school in Boulder, Colorado. She is a spiritual mother, teacher, flower essence maker, and storyteller. Join us as we uncover the timeless principles of Ayurveda, discover practical tips for enhancing vitality, and explore the deeper dimensions of spirituality that intertwine with the ancient science of life.
Namaste, everyone. Today we have a very interesting and timely topic, finding peace in a troubled world when war, violence, pollution, and climate change threaten the tranquility of our lives. Is there a way to live as beacons of peace in tumultuous times? The times are truly tumultuous, with climate change escalating, cataclysmic floods in Punjab, recent terrible wildfires in the Mediterranean, a genocide in Gaza, atrocities being perpetrated on the people of Ukraine, and our own country's headlong rush into fascism. So I thought the best way to give this talk was the way that I live it. So Sadananda and I did have the great opportunity to study the Zen Peacemaker teachings with the late, great Bernie Glassman and with Fleet Mall. So that is what I use on a daily basis as I grapple with the conundrum finding peace in a troubled world. And it's what I'm going to offer to you today. So the Zen Peacemaker process consists of 3 steps: not knowing, bearing witness, and taking action. Let's begin with not knowing. So, to be clear, not knowing does not mean ignoring. It does not mean, oh, I don't watch the news. It does not mean trying to stay away from unpleasant, painful, devastating, horrific facts, truths that are going to disturb our comfort. It doesn't mean ignoring what is going on in the world, what is happening to our very own brothers and sisters, to our very selves. Of course, there are times, in times of retreat, we are away from the news. When Sadanand did his last retreat, which was for 6 months, he was not exposed to the news at all, other than when there was the cataclysmic 2013 flood in Boulder, and his meditation teacher made a decision to let him know about it and to give him permission to support me with a weekly call, which was super lucky. But normally, if we are on retreat or in some kind of special time of hermitage or solitude, that's when we're not following the news. Then only are we not following the news. So, on the one hand, we should stay informed. On the other hand, let's avoid doom scrolling, especially till late at night, disturbing our sleep. One thing after another, it's overwhelming. Bam, bam, bam. Let's avoid doom scrolling. What I do recommend is to set aside conscious, planned time to get the news from good sources. The sources that I use two sources. We use Al Jazeera English and the BBC World Service. We use Al Jazeera English where we'll get the visual. It is a far cry from mainstream media. They have some absolutely top reporters and commentators. They're on the ground in Gaza City, my friends. They are on the ground there. They are on the ground amid the floods in Pakistan. They are on the ground with the Rohingya in their refugee camps. They're on the ground. And the other source that we appreciate is the BBC World Service. When we can find time to listen to that, it got, unfortunately, our local radio station switched from 10 o'clock news, which just went pretty nicely with closing the kitchen, to 11 o'clock news, which is too late to be listening to the news or doing anything. But it's good to have two sources, so Al Jazeera English and the BBC World Service. They can overcome any bias that each other has. When they're both saying the same thing, you can feel pretty confident. Of course, there's also printed news, and for that we do like The Guardian. And then we also do appreciate Amy Goodman and Democracy Now! And some of the great interviews that she does. We want to avoid sources of fake news, disinformation, and conspiracy theories. The polar opposite of the attitude of not knowing is knowing. I know something nobody else knows. That's really the ego feeding attitude of conspiracy theorists, is feeling that we are in the know and we know the stuff that we're being lied to about by MSM. Uh, we know about chemtrails. Ask my cousin Gary, PhD in atmospheric physics, about chemtrails. About what? It's water vapor, friends. Um, there were a lot of conspiracy theories about COVID, about Kennedy, and so on. That's the worst kind of knowing, and the opposite of not knowing is, and it really feeds the ego to feel that somehow we know this special stuff that's being kept from other people. So not knowing is not ignoring. To be in a state of not knowing is to be as well informed as we can manage to be, and then rest with spaciousness. Rest in the fact that we do not know the outcome. The flotilla is sailing, and we do not know what will happen from one moment to the next. We do not know what will be the outcome of any situation. To quote from the great Reinhold Niebuhr, nothing that is worth doing can be achieved in our lifetime. Therefore, we must be saved by hope. Nothing which is true or beautiful or good makes complete sense in any immediate context of history. Therefore, we must be saved by faith. Nothing we do, however virtuous, can be accomplished alone. Therefore, we must be saved by love. That beautiful quote really encapsulates that mood of not knowing, just being there in our not knowing, resting in our not knowing, doing what comes to hand in hope, in faith, and working together in love. From not knowing, we come to bearing witness. And this teaching has just been incredibly important for Sadanand and myself. So to quote Jules Shuchen Harris, quote, bearing witness can be defined as acknowledging that something exists or is true. To bear witness is to embrace both the joy and the suffering we encounter. Rather than simply observing the situation, we become the situation. We become intimate with whatever it is: hunger, poverty, discrimination, disease, or death. End quote. Thank you, Jules. That is a beautiful definition of bearing witness, becoming intimate. That's why Bernie Glassman had street retreats where people could become intimate with the life of being unhoused. The retreats in Auschwitz where people could become intimate with that vast atrocity. So we start off with the not knowing. That is more something of the intellect. We become well informed without any grasping, without clinging to knowing more than other people, without clinging to our conception of the outcome, but just holding the situation in some kind of spacious openness. And we bear witness. In bearing witness, now we've made the effort to be well informed, correctly informed. We want to have real empathy, compassion, and a sense of deep interconnectedness with those who are suffering. We want that kind of intimacy. That's why our friends on the ground are so important. Our friends on the ground in Syria, in Palestine, the people we've struck up an acquaintance with, the people we message on social media or WhatsApp, the people that give us a close family feeling regarding what is going on. We want to have that real sense of connectedness. It's like holding a sign that says, I am Gaza. It's breaking down that sense of separateness. That sense of separateness is the opposite of not knowing and does not allow us to bear witness because we have made ourselves the subject and objectified the other. And yet, as J. Krishnamurti loved to say, the observer is the observed. So if when we come into that real not knowing and open ourselves to bear witness, that duality of subject and object begin to break down and we understand our oneness and we know that we are a part of that suffering. So how do we bear witness? In an ideal world, we're bearing witness by being with and listening to the person undergoing that suffering, that turmoil, that torment. But that's not always possible. It's not really possible to have a sit down with a flood survivor in Pakistan or someone who's fleeing their home in Gaza City. But there are many ways that we can bear witness. We can bear witness on the streets and on social media. It's absolutely essential to bear witness on the streets. Sadanand and a group of other, largely elders, so not entirely elders, go every Saturday in Boulder to the intersection of Broadway and Canyon with signs, and they bear witness to the genocide in Gaza. And sometimes cars honk, and sometimes they jeer, and sometimes they speed by. Sadanand has been knocked over by a shopping cart outside the grocery store when bearing witness, when simply holding a sign that says, "Don't bomb Gaza," or "Stop killing children," or something, and some woman charges him with her shopping cart and knocks him flat on the concrete. Would you believe it? Uh, I've been yelled at and called anti-Semite, which frankly, I think that I exactly look like an Ashkenazi Jew. I don't know who else I could possibly be, this little 4'11" me, but no, I am not an anti-Semite because I don't want children bombed. But when we are bearing witness, my friends, we are required to bear witness in the not knowing and remember that our role is to be peacemakers. And that means we are not going to argue back. We are not going to fight back. We are not going to confront people. We are not going to get hostile with people. We are not going to shove people or get in a shoving match with people. We are not going to shout people down because those actions are neither part of not knowing nor part of bearing witness in a true way. So we want to be there bearing witness silently or with sound. Stop starving Gaza! Stop starving Gaza! And banging our pots and pans. We can bear witness in silence or with sound, but the moment we start confronting, arguing, not listening to someone who confronts us with an opposite point of view, the moment we do that, we are no longer bearing witness. So we can and must bear witness on the streets. Every day we can bear witness on social media with a picture, with a graphic, with a story, and we can bear witness. On social media, it's a little easier to bear witness to all the different causes that are pulling on our hearts at this time. Don't let your social media go to waste. Use your social media to bear witness. We bear witness on the phone and at the town hall. So we bear witness every day by calling our representative. We actually, in so many ways, do love and appreciate our representative, Joe Neguse, but we struggle with the fact that he won't take a stand for Palestine. So when we did get a chance to go to a town hall with Neguse, we were next to our friends who were supporting Palestine, but not, in all honesty, not truly in the spirit of bearing witness, because they were addressing our representative with hostility. Understandable, but not what we want to be doing. Therefore, he was shaking everyone's hands, but when he saw us with our Palestine sign, he didn't shake our hands. So at the end, He was being open, taking questions, milling around. At the end, we came with the milling around. And it was an absolutely incredible moment. We were both holding his hands. We were both looking in his eyes as I said, my family were killed in a genocide. I don't want anyone else to die in a genocide. Please speak up for Palestine. And he hasn't spoken up for Palestine. AIPAC really has a hold upon our politicians, and the fear of being primaried with big AIPAC money does hang over them. And Negus on so many other levels is doing a lot of good stuff for Colorado and for our country. But just the fact that we held hands and we met eye to eye and soul to soul, he'll never forget that, because we bore witness to him in unconditional love. That's really what I'm saying. Bearing witness must be an act not of hostility or confrontation, but of unconditional love. Bear witness on the phone, on the at the town hall, on the streets, on social media. Bear witness with a sign outside your house. Bear witness with a sign inside your house. There are so many ways to bear witness, but we must bear witness because silence is complicity. Not the silence of silently standing at the street corner, but the silence of apathy is complicity. Maybe we should just say apathy is complicity. It can be disheartening knowing that when we bear witness, most likely nothing will happen. Most likely nothing will change. But I am here and I bear witness. And as I bear witness to the suffering, and right now, a lot of the time for us, it's Palestine is what we're most needing to bear witness to right now, the situation in Gaza and the West Bank. As I bear witness, I am not only there in solidarity with people in a distant land who are suffering unimaginable horrors, I am also there for myself. In bearing witness, I maintain my own integrity, my own dignity, my own purpose. That was my angel card today. Purpose. I maintain my own purpose, my purposefulness, my relationship to truth, my relationship to solidarity, to intimacy with all who suffer. So I am bearing witness not only for those who suffer, but for my own humanity. And beyond that, I bear witness because I believe that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is among, perhaps I shouldn't say the, but let's say among the greatest human achievements of all times. It is the culmination of millennia of spirituality, Eastern and Western. It's the culmination of the pillars of Ashoka. It's the culmination of the Hebrew prophets. It's the culmination of the teachings of Christ and the Muhammad. It's the culmination of Buddhism. Have I left something out? It's the culmination of Guru Nanak. Whatever teachings we have culminated in our ability to create the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and humanitarian law in response to the unbearable atrocities of the first half of the 20th century. And when I stand on a street corner and bang a pot, and when I post on social media, and when I pick up the phone, and when I go to the town hall, I bear witness to that great achievement. And I say, I will not allow this Universal Declaration of Human Rights to go down undefended, because I am there for the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Rooted in the not knowing and the bearing witness, we go on to the third step, taking action. Let's read from the Zen Peacemaker website, quote, taking action, we take action that arises from not knowing and bearing witness. The underlying intention is that the action that arises be a caring action which serves everyone and everything, including yourself, in the whole situation. End quote. The reality is that at times bearing witness may be the only action available. We have a situation right now in our country where there are really only two parties, and they're both pro-genocide. I hate to say it so bleakly like that. It's hard for me to believe that a lovely person like Jonah Goose, that I could ever call him pro-genocide. But when it's like this, and when AIPAC has so much money and AIPAC has so much power, and anyone that does stand up for Palestine is going to be primaried, when kids are being kicked out of their colleges, when they and their families have invested so much just for raising their voices, just for doing what students must do, what is so key to the role of students, to bear witness to the truth. After all, they're there to learn the truth. Given all of that, it it may be that the only action available is to bear witness in these ways that I have mentioned, on the streets, on social media, on the phone, at the town hall, in the streets and in the squares. We bear witness. More than 800 people were arrested a couple of days ago in London, outside Parliament, for peacefully holding up a piece of paper that said, "I support Palestine action," for which they were arrested and sometimes even handcuffed. Crimes going unnoticed, while vicars, clergy, and doctors, and World War II veterans, and pensioners, and Holocaust survivors, and children of Holocaust survivors are being arrested for bearing witness. So at times that may be simply all we can do. We bear witness, that is our action. But at other times, we may see the possibility of creating some kind of project that is rooted in the first two tenets of the peacemaker path. So first of all, find what calls you, and it may evolve. If we think about Greta, I joke and say she's our queen. Is she our queen? Oh my goodness. But she'll be the first to say it's not about her. She was Fridays for Future and climate, and now she's on the global Sumud flotilla heading to Gaza. In fact, they were just bombed. She's on the global Sumud flotilla. She doesn't see a separation between these causes. Other people are like, "What are you doing there? You're a climate activist. Why have you suddenly become a Palestine activist?" Because it's about people and the earth. Because actually, demolishing buildings and bombing stuff is bad for the environment because it's all about justice, be it climate justice or environmental justice or any other kind of justice. To me, I understand the contiguous and flowing nature of these causes. For us, we were all about Syria, of the many, many causes. That was the cause that we espoused for those 12 or 13 years, I think it was, that it took to shake off Bashar al-Assad. And we're still there for Syria. And whenever there's been a flood in Pakistan, we've been there for Pakistan. We've been there for the people who weave baskets, the people who care for cows, who trust them so much that the cow will board a boat when their owner tells them to, the people who tend water buffalo, the people who grow the rice we eat, the people who live in mud-walled homes, the people who contribute almost nothing to climate change, the people who have lost everything because of climate change. So we have always been there for the Pakistan floods. And now the cause that calls us the most, genocide. Is that, can we even think about anything else when a genocide is happening? And this is not hyperbole. The world's greatest genocide scholars have just stated that it is, in fact, a genocide. And even if the British government is like, ho, ho, we don't think it's actually a genocide. It's just very nasty, but it's not a genocide. Did you not just hear what the world's greatest genocide scholars actually said? So find out what calls you. It may be several things. Find out what calls you. If at all possible, join with others. When it came to Syria, there was such a little amount of interest, but we still found a way to join with others. We have a dear friend, Nada Hashemi, who was at DU and now is at Georgetown University. Wonderful person to join with in solidarity. We joined with a bunch of friends in Ireland. The Irish, as it happens, know about oppression and know about struggling for freedom and independence. So we joined hands with our friends in Ireland. We found people to join hands with. When it comes to Palestine, many more people are interested, but way less people than should be the case. Join with others that can really help to get any kind of a project going. And above all, just keep going. There are always difficulties. We worked for years to get one event together for Syria. We were going to have art by Syrian refugees. We were going to have food from the Syrian restaurants. We had been actually gifted the space by the First United Methodist Church. Different rabbis and clergy was slated to come, and a week before it started came lockdown. So much for all those years of work. Did we give up? We did not give up. That is the meaning of the word sumud, persistence. We do not give up. We must just keep going when it seems as if we're getting nowhere. Whatever our project is, whatever our cause is, just keep going. Day after day, week after week, month after month, persist. We will persist until all are free. So there is a process by which to live in peace in a troubled world. Because when I wake up in the morning and I'm crying about my beloved brothers and sisters in Pakistan, and I'm indignant, frustrated, and furious about what's going on in Gaza and all these other situations that I'm so concerned about. The first thing I have to do is situate myself. And I find that peace in the not knowing. And I find that peace in bearing witness. And through not knowing and bearing witness, whatever actions I'm able to take will arise in a peaceful way. Namaste.
Thank you for tuning in to Ayurveda and Spirituality with Alakananda Ma. We hope today's exploration has ignited a spark of curiosity and insight within you. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave us a 5-star review and share it with a friend. For more enlightening discussions and practical wisdom on Ayurveda and spirituality, subscribe and join our Facebook group, Alundi Ayurveda. To allow us to continue sharing valuable content, consider donating to Alundi Ashram. The links will be in the show notes. Until next time, may you walk the path of Ayurveda with grace and embrace the light of spiritual wisdom in your journey.
Trayambakam yajamahe sugandhim pushtivardanam urvarukamiva pandanam mrityormukshiyam